Hi friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Kalachakra Star 59. Today we are visiting the Vasa Ship Museum, opened in 1990, which belongs to the Swedish National Maritime Museums and is located on the Djurgarden Island in central Stockholm, Sweden. Here is displayed the only almost fully intact salvaged 17th century 64-gun warship Vasa that sank on her maiden voyage on August 10, 1628, after sailing hardly about a meagre 1,130 meters, with about 30 of 150 persons aboard drowning. Vasa quickly sank only 120 meters from the land in full view of a crowd of thousands. After the ship was raised from the floor on April 24, 1961, modern analysis by naval architects and engineers have determined that the ship's very design caused the disaster. The Vasa was top heavy to accommodate an untenable concentration of heavy cannons on two gun decks, weighed down further by the massive sculptures on the prow with which warships of the period were customarily decorated. The ship was simply too high above the water relative to the small keel size below. Today, Vasa is the world's only preserved 17th century warship that had remained on the seabed for a whopping 333 years. The ship was built on the orders of the King of Sweden, Gustav Adolphus, as part of the military expansion he initiated in a war with Poland-Lithuania. The distinct name of this Swedish ship Vasa, designed by shipmaster Henrik Herbertsson, was inspired by the Vasa dynasty from which the king had descended. The 226-foot-long Vasa, with two gun decks, 64 bronze cannons, and a 450-man crew, was to be a mighty vessel. Each broadside was capable of hurling some 250 kg of shot, which was twice as much as the most powerful European ships of her day. Vasa was constructed at the Navy Yard in Stockholm under a contract with the private entrepreneurs in 1626-27 and armed primarily with bronze cannons cast in Stockholm specifically for the ship. Richly decorated as a symbol of the king's ambitions for Sweden and himself, upon completion, she was one of the most powerfully armed vessels in the world. However, Vasa was dangerously unstable, with too much weight in the upper structure of the hull. Despite this lack of stability, she was ordered to sea and sank only a few minutes after encountering a wind stronger than a breeze. Vasa's valuable bronze cannons were salvaged in the 17th century itself, but the ship was salvaged with a largely intact hull in 1961. During the 1961 recovery, thousands of artifacts and the remains of at least 15 people were found in and around Vasa's hull by marine archaeologists. Among the many items found were clothing, weapons, cannons, tools, coins, cutlery, food, drink, and 6 of the 10 sails. The artifacts and the ship herself have provided scholars with invaluable insights into details of naval warfare, shipbuilding techniques, the evolution of sailing rigs, and everyday life in early 17th century Sweden. Today, Vasa is the world's best preserved 17th century ship, answering many questions about the design and operation of ships of this period. From the beginning of 1961 to 1983, Vasa was housed in a temporary structure called the Vasa Shipyard. Here, the visitors could only view the ship from 2 levels. In 1981, the Swedish government decided that a permanent Vasa Museum was to be constructed, and a competition for the design of the museum building was organized. A total of 384 architects sent in models of their ideas, and the final winners were Marianne Dahlback and Goran Manson. The construction of the new building began on and around the dry dock of the old naval yard with an inauguration ceremony hosted by Prince Bertil on November 2nd, 1987. Vasa was towed into the flooded dry dock under the new building in December 1987, and during the summer of 1989, when visitors were allowed onto the construction site, 228,000 people visited the half-finished museum. The museum was officially opened on June 15, 1990. Across the 2 museums, by the beginning of 2025, Vasa has been seen by over 45 million people. Now watch a short
when the great
film
warship
clipping.
the Vasa was built almost 400 years ago. The old royal castle stood on the heights, and prosperous citizens lived in stone houses around the central square and surrounding streets. The less well-off lived in simple timber houses in and around the city. Stockholm had a large harbour with ships lying alongside quays. The shipyard where the Vasa was built was one of the largest employers in Sweden, with 400 workers. Rent de Schroot. Henrik's Swedish wife, Margareta Nilsdotter, handled the administration. And the women did much of the work when the men went off to war. Just making candles for all the lamps aboard was a major task. After 2 years, the Vasa was finished and ready to move to the harbour below the royal castle. She was one of the most heavily armed ships in Europe, with 64 guns on 2 gun decks, which could house up to 450 crew members. On Sunday, the 10th of August 1628, she sailed on her maiden voyage. As a result of poor design, she was not very stable and had not sailed far when a breeze made her heel repeatedly.
Best of of India restaurant for lunch in Stockholm, Sweden.